Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is time for some wisdom of the ages. And today we'll be talking about family and home, coming to us from, who is it from? Usually says right at the top there, Joyce Kilmer, who lived 1886 to 1918, an American poet, remembered chiefly for his poem, Trees. Joyce Kilmer died in battle in France during World War I. Fascinating. And so the subject, once again, is family and home. And it's a poem here, or, yeah, it's got to be a poem. He was a poet. It's a poem here titled Roofs for Amelia Josephine Burr, it says. And so we're reading from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's Wisdom of the Ages, 60 Days to Enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. But if it was that easy to get to enlightenment, I think we'd already be there. But so we're going through this wonderful wisdom of the ages from many different authors and poets and philosophers such as Henry David Thoreau and William James from last week on visualization or agelessness from Lewis Carroll, Robert Browning, Emily Dickinson, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow on enthusiasm. And so every chapter of this book has it's just a few pages, and it's a wonderful topic of wisdom that takes not too long to read, that then at the end of the chapter has a way that Wayne Dyer gives us recommendations that we can apply this into our lives so that we can increase the quality of our lives day to day, and the quality of not only our lives, but the lives of those around us, and hopefully in turn make an impact and difference in the world, in our world, because we're each creating our world, ladies and gentlemen. Remember last week's Wisdom of the Ages, talking about visualization and creating the life that you really want. So today, let's dive in to what Joyce Kilmer and Dr. Wayne W. Dyer and myself have to say about this subject of family and home. The poem given to us today is titled Roofs. I might have said that earlier. And let's dive right into it. The road is wide, it begins, and the stars are out, and the breath of the night is sweet. And this is the time when wanderlust should seize upon my feet. But I'm glad to turn from the open road and the starlight on my face, and leave the splendor of out of doors for a human dwelling place. I never have seen a vagabond who really liked to roam all up and down the streets of the world and not have a home. The tramp who slept in your barn last night and left the break of day will wander only until he finds another place to stay. A gypsy man will sleep in his cart with the canvas overhead, or else he'll go into his tent when it is time for bed. He'll sit on the grass and take his ease so long as the sun is high. But when it is dark, he wants a roof to keep away the sky. If you call a gypsy a vagabond, I think you do him wrong, for he never goes a-traveling, but he takes his home along. And the only reason a road is good, as every wanderer knows, is because of the homes to which it goes. They say that life is a highway, and its milestones are years. And now and then there's a toll gate where you buy your way with tears. It's a rough road and a steep road, and it stretches broad and far, but it leads at last to a golden town where golden houses are. Joyce Kilmer, fantastic. Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. That really makes home is where it's at. But let's dive right into what Dr. Wayne Dyer has to say about this poem here, titled Roofs. Talking about what stood out to me was the always seeking back for that place of home, and how important it is, even if you bring your home with you when you travel, to have that canvas overhead. And it's interesting, as much as we do love the stars, that we're always looking for, that cover overhead while we sleep. Some of us love sleeping under the stars, though. It's a fascinating topic. Let's dive right into it. Wayne Dyer begins, while Sergeant Joyce Kilmer is known primarily for his 12-line poem that begins, I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. I've chosen to highlight this poetic tribute to home, which is by way of inference, is a call to value and appreciate all that a home encompasses, particularly family and loved ones. Underneath those roofs that Joyce Kilmer eulogized in his poem is what we all need to be most mindful of as the greatest source of love available to us in our lifetimes. Those roofs cover over our places of comfort. For most of us, home has a very deep significance. It represents the anchor to our temporary earthly visit. Deep, think on that one for a sec. It represents the anchor to our worldly existence, temporary earthly visit. It symbolizes a sense of safety, Wayne Dyer continues, and those who live there with us help guide us through the uncertainties of a world filled with strangers. While home life is far from idyllic for many of us, nevertheless, there still seems to be a universal sense of security in having a home to return to, regardless of how far we decide to travel. And I'll add, regardless of how large and wonderful, extravagant, or how small and canvas covered that home is. I have visited all over this planet, and I have seen homes of every description, Wayne Dyer says, people living in grass shacks in Polynesia and igloos in the frozen tundra, some occupying tiny apartment dwellings with many others in Hong Kong, and others choosing to live in tents along the edge of the desert. Even those who are labeled homeless usually have some location, even if it is a large box or a spot where their own beneath a freeway overpass, a spot of their own beneath a freeway overpass. This universal inclination seems to be to find some shelter that provides a source of comfort and a sense of safety and call it home. This is fascinating. I've never even really thought about this, being such a thing for us as we go throughout life. I'm like, what was that? As we go throughout life, it's like having this place, especially when you're in the age of, moving out and finding your own place and stuff, which was for me, a few years back. And it's fascinating how you want to find this some sort of shelter, even if it's your car. Some people live in their car, but some sort of shelter that provides a source of comfort, a sense of safety, and call it home, regardless of its quality. Fascinating. Joyce Kilmer writes of these two unifying human inclinations, both to wander and to have a place to wander back to. See, that's even more fascinating. The fact that we love to wander, but in our wanderings always need somewhere to wander back to have that sense of safety, or at least create that place in our wanderings as we go along. Whoop, boop, boop. But it's fascinating. Truly, he is saying, it is great to be on the road, but there is no place like home. There's no place like home, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be on the road. It's a fascinating paradox, which is one of the things that I like to talk about. It's like how things can be the opposite, but also the same at the same time. And this is one of those, to where we love to wander, and adventure and things, but we also love to have a place to wander back to where we stay at and we don't adventure at. Truly, he is saying it's great to be on the road, but there is no place like home. This poem appeals to me, Wayne Dyer says, because of my own vagabond nature, but my inclination to love being home at the same time. Somehow it conveys a way to combine those two seemingly opposite predilections, paradox here, I added that are present not only in me, but in most of the people that I meet and receive mail from, Wayne Dyer says. All of us want to see the world, to travel and to get up and go. A common fantasy involves roaming free as an unemployed vagabond and letting go of all those anchors that hold us back from what it is that we want to go do in our lives. I added that last sentence as well. Wayne Dyer continues that at the same time, as the poet says, the only reason a road is good, as every wanderer knows, is just because of the homes to which it goes. Everywhere you travel, you see people congregating in their shelters. And sure enough, it makes us homesick. Fascinating. When you see other people at home, when you're not at home, it makes you want to have that feeling of comfort. It's fascinating. And safety, security. See, this has to do with our want for feeling safe, secure. Because that's, often when we're wanting financial help and abundance, what we really want is the comfort that comes from security and knowing we have enough in order to take care of what we need. And so, so often when we're asking or, trying to manifest or create better financial security or more abundance in our life, we're not actually seeking after what we think we are. We think we're seeking after, a big windfall of money somehow, but what we're really seeking after is this security, this contentness that comes from knowing that you have what you need, this feeling of security that comes from knowing that you are safe in your home. And feeling safe in your home is an entirely different subject. People go into, talking about crime and all kinds of things like that. We're talking about deeper, more philosophical things here, rather than security as far as locks and cameras. I'm talking about internal, emotional and, metaphysical, philosophical feelings of contentment and security. I'm not talking about locks and cameras. Just felt the need to clarify that if you thought I was talking about something else. Now, roofs, this poem, Wayne Dyer says, reminds us to adopt an inner attitude of appreciation for that place of shelter and comfort that we call home. To look around and count our blessings, regardless of how small they are. I'm adding that. The more we count our blessings, especially when they're small, when they're few, the more of them start to come into our life, because we're noticing and appreciating what it is that we do have, regardless of how much it is. That's another key point to trying to create a higher quality of life, is being able to appreciate what it is that you have, regardless of how much it is that you have. If you have nothing and you find a penny, be thankful of the sign of abundance that is flowing into your life and will continue to come in your life. And when you're thankful for things as small as that, now, I've never been in a position that hard, so have compassion and help those that are struggling in life. But it's important for us in our own, in our own individual journeys to be able to cultivate this ability of appreciation, so that way, we can move forward with more growing rather than destruction. And it's, this attitude of inner appreciation and inner It's about the inner work that we're doing here. Wayne Dyer continues, to look around and count our blessings in being safe, not only from the elements, but from the fear of not having a home. Moreover, these structures that we call home are more than the locations and the building materials. See, it's a metaphysical thing. It's an emotional, of thought thing. It's inner work that we're talking about here. It's not the physical world so much, even though we can talk about physical things like structures and houses, but the idea of home is not a structure. It's not the materials that the home is made out of. Under these roofs, Wayne Dyer continues, are those who care the most about us, those who have been willing to support and feed us, those who are always there regardless of how troublesome things might get. And I'll add, if there isn't anyone there to fill those roles, part of the reason why I'm doing all this research of the wisdom of the Tao, the wisdom of the ages, and all of what Wayne Dyer goes into in his lectures and teachings and all the other philosophy and spiritual philosophy and, metaphysical, all of the things that I've been researching into is getting to the point where you can do these things for yourself because you're not dependent on external sources to bring it to you. Because when the external sources go away, then you don't have it. But if you have it in here, not in your shirt, but on the inside of your body, but not even in the inside of your body, it's more of a spirit, soul, whatever, however you want to describe that. It's a metaphysical or beyond the physical, is what metaphysical means. It's a beyond the physical kind of thing that we have to cultivate through practice, through whatever it takes for you. Most people do it through meditation and daily work of trying to become and change your thoughts and change your life. That's why we're reading this book as well, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go into many more books that will teach us how we can begin to do these things, like he was just saying, those who care the most about us, which should be ourselves, even though it's nice to have people that care about us in life. But if you love yourself, you can sit at home quietly by yourself and have that knowing that you are divine and that you are great. You are greatness, ladies and gentlemen, referring to yesterday's video about the definition of greatness and discovering and finding your true greatness, because it is already there. All you have to do is, rub some of the dirt off. Now, that was a metaphor, the rub some of the dirt off. Those who care about us, those who have been willing to support and feed us, that could be ourselves too. Those who are always there, regardless of how troublesome things might get. And so that's when you get into, there's multiple, there's this ego version of you, and then there's your higher self. And you can be there for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I got off the topic a bit because I just wanted to go into how we can be those things for ourselves through great practice. Even though it might be a physical human necessity to have contact with others. I'll continue. I've known some people, Wayne Dyer says, who appear to be kinder to strangers than they are to the people under their roof who care the most about them. This is fascinating. Many of our most basic problems and miseries came from our inability to deal effectively with those who reside with us under our roof. Nevertheless, for the most part, there is a bond that exists between family members who share the same home that is rarely ever severed. I think of my own brothers, whom I have not lived with for many decades, who I see only a few times during the course of a year, and yet there are times of being together under one roof that have bonded us in a circle of love that can never be broken. It is this feeling of connectedness to others that a home symbolizes. It's funny, we were watching Malcolm in the Middle last night. Good classic funny show. And it was about that. They had to go to a funeral for their aunt, and they were all like, nobody liked Aunt whatever. And so eventually the kids were like, Mom, you didn't even like Aunt, whatever. And the mom goes, yeah, but that doesn't mean that we didn't love her. So there's this deeper bond, even though you may not get along with those that have been your family members. Luckily I do, but we're not all so lucky. And so if you have that straight, it's important to remember that there is this connection of family, this unconditional love that goes beyond the conditions that we like to add to terms such as love and, brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever it be. Most of us consider love to be something that is conditional. And I believe we have done a chapter in this book, as well as the Wisdom of the Tao that we do on Tuesdays, Tuesday Tao. If you haven't joined us before, be sure to join us next Tuesday, that talk about unconditional love. It's a key subject, getting rid of the conditions on your love. Now, sorry, once again, I trailed off there. Feeling appreciation, call home, whomever you have the opportunity to live with inside the confines of those walls and under those roofs. Connectedness. He said it cannot be measured by any accounting methods, this unconditional love. It is a feeling of being in a state of unity with others who share that space. And so I'm asking you, Joyce Kilmer is asking you, and Wayne Dyer is asking you today to treasure that feeling and appreciate it, whatever it is and wherever it is that you call home, and whomever you've had the opportunity to live with inside the confines of a home. By all means, succumb to your travel lust, Wayne Dyer says. Take that wide road and see all you can, but also while on that road, know that all along these wide roads, on either side and at the end, are places that someone calls home. Therefore, when coming back and traveling down that most familiar road, makes me think of a line. I'll catch my spot. That makes me think of a line too. It's like we go all throughout our travels, and then we come back to the place where we first began, but know it for the very first time, because we have a new perspective. This is what enlightenment is all about. Knowing the place where we began, a whole new way for the very first time. Therefore, when coming back and traveling down that most familiar road, stop before opening the door and feel a deep sense of appreciation, not only for having a home of your own to return to, but for those before you who built a home for you to grow up in and provided you with all your experiences, good and bad, easy and difficult. Be a wanderer today and then return to your home. It took a lot of love and a lot of care and food and work and energy to keep you out of harm's way. This is probably making most of us think back to our childhood here. And to make us self-sufficient. It is all that loving and caring that a home represents. The poet who wrote these sentimental lines was a sergeant in the U.S. Army during World War I. He was probably longing for home. I'm not sure if he was, at war while he wrote this wonderful poem, but Wayne Dyer continues, this sensitive young man who volunteered to wander far from his earthly home in New Brunswick, New Jersey, was lost in action in France in 1918 at the young age of 31. Fascinating. Because I'll be 31 this August. And just to think the difference of lives that each and every one of us leads in the different time periods that we exist in. And some of these poets and authors, some of the greatest poets from the 17th and 18th centuries and 19th centuries, died before they were 35. And they did some of the greatest works of poetry and philosophy that stand throughout history, that sit before me today and before you today, that we're going through in this video. And it's what we reference back to increase the quality of our lives, ladies and gentlemen. If you're getting value from this, please subscribe and smash the like button. And let me know what you think in the comments section below. I cannot imagine. Nope, sorry, I skipped forward. His last lines of this poem seem prophetic. It's a rough road and a steep road, and it stretches broad and far, but it leads at last to a golden town where golden houses are. I cannot imagine a rougher or steeper final road than the trenches of World War I, Wayne Dyer says, but somehow Sergeant Joyce Kilmer knew about an even grander home where the soul resides. It is evident that in the last lines of this poem, as well as in Trees, poems are made by fools like me. This is a quote from Trees. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Only the Tao, only the great source, nature, harmony, can make a tree. That which we are connected to, ladies and gentlemen. Wayne Dyer gives us here, he says, here are a few suggestions for putting the message of this poem into your life. And I have this book linked below in the description. If you hit the little thing below here and expand it, there'll be a link to this book on Amazon in the description. But the reason you want to get it is because Wayne Dyer gives this to us, a practical way that we can apply this wisdom of the ages into our life, into our daily life. And he gives us these recommendations now. Number one, take a few moments each day to be in a state of appreciation for the immediate surroundings that you call home, regardless of how grand or humble they might be. Give thanks to those who provide this home, to those who share it with you, and to God, the Tao, the great source, the divine universal intelligence. Give thanks for the blessing of a shelter. Number two, do whatever you can to assist in our world who do not have a home. Yes, I'm glad he added that in. Do whatever you can to assist those in our world who do not have a home. While some may make the choice to be vagabonds and have a new place to call home every day, others are homeless, though not through deliberate choice. Be of service, Wayne Dyer says, financially, spiritually, or physically, to those who would love to have a more permanent place called home. And finally, number three here, teach those who share your home with you to honor and revere it, not only for its physical attributes, but for the space of shelter and love that it represents. Boom. Boom to wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. Boom to knowledge. That was a nice one. Made me feel comfortable. Made you feel good. The next one next week is about solitude. And they're all, all of us have a time where we need some solitude, where we need to be quiet. And then the one after that's called mystery. So it's going to go from some deeper, more softer subjects back into the metaphysical of mystery. And so I really hope you get value out of these, ladies and gentlemen. I know I do. And, the wonderful wisdom of the ages coming from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer and all the authors, Joyce Kilmer, that we read from today, were poets, teachers, even the wisdom of the Tao from Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching. This is stuff that can help us live a better life, live a higher quality of life. And that's why we're here researching this twice a week. Should be 7 days a week. I kind of do my own. I work on this stuff in my life throughout my everyday moment to moment existence, ladies and gentlemen. And this is why we're here, trying to increase not only the quality of our lives, but by that we can begin to increase the quality of the lives of those around us, and hopefully they can do it to those around them. And it just hits critical mass, and then all of a sudden, the greater majority of us is at a much better place, because the one thing that gives me trouble in life is seeing others who are suffering, seeing others who are struggling. And I so often want to extend to them, some way, some key to unlock the doors to comfort, to contentment, to internal peace. And, even if the things outside of us in the physical world that we go through every day living our lives are not as the way that we would like them to be, we can still find this place inside of us that is, strength and this certainty, knowing that we are a part of everything. We are connected to all that is great and all that is the opposite of that. And we have the ability to choose for ourselves internally how it is we want to deal with what it is that we go through, and how we want to respond to life, and how we want to share our own nature with the people that we experience in life. And so continue, ladies and gentlemen, to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment. Seek to discover the hidden wisdom of the ages, and continue to make happiness the way. Because when we can bring happiness to life, when happiness is, an activity, something that we're choosing to bring rather than the result that we're seeking to get from all the striving that we've been doing so long, then the destination, ladies and gentlemen, becomes irrelevant, because we're already where we want it to be. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate everybody who takes time out of their life to spend with me, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Lao Tzu, and all the wonderful authors and poets, philosophers in the wisdom of the ages. Be sure to smash the like button, leave me a comment, and subscribe. All of those things help the algorithm to push our videos to more people who wouldn't see it otherwise. And, I think people could really get something out of these. And if you think you know somebody who could use this, then be sure to share it with them. Thank you so much. I love everybody. Everybody love everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and that'll make the world a much happier place, regardless of how silly some people seem to be to us in our judgmental ego perceptions. But if we can release those, then we'll get to a better place. All right, love you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week with some more Tuesday Tao and Wednesday Wisdom. Stay good. No.